Welcome back to Cherry Picking, presented by Owner's Box, and today we got a way too early mock draft. I guess there's only, how many people do you think are mock drafting right now?
I don't think many, but I think the point is see where people are going, look at ADPs. Let's talk about who's too high, who's too low.
Yeah.
So find the values.
Yeah, find the values.
So we got a board up right now, but first, Drew, what do our viewers need to do?
Need to like, need to comment, they need to subscribe, and they need to download Owner's Box today.
Good job, Drew. And we are sponsored. We're sponsored by Manscaped. So go over to Manscaped, buy the lawnmower if you want, I guess, you want to shave your balls. You know, we all like Manscaped. We all use it here. So use code BOX for 20% off and free shipping. So we're going to go round by round here. So let's start with the first round here. Was there anything that stood out to you?
For me, honestly, the first round is pretty clear. Like I don't have much I disagree with. Vasilevsky is the only, and I don't disagree with it. He's the most unique piece to me because I think, you know, year after year, more and more teams are going to this tandem style, and Vasilevsky is, you know, a standout among goalies where he's the clear-cut number one on the back-to-back defending Stanley Cup champions. And I guess it just comes down to how much your league values goalies and their output versus other positions where, like, after McDavid, I could see him going anywhere from literally second, depending on your league, till end of first round. But him being in his own tier makes sense. It was just, you know, that realization that he really is his own tier now.
Yeah.
Yep.
We talked about Hellebuck. Like, he was drafted first round last year, second round, and I definitely regretted that decision. So
I'm all about the zero goalie strategy.
You need to write about that then.
Okay, I will.
It's like zero RB?
Like zero RB in fantasy football. With goalies, you want to wait until you find the values late in the draft, or maybe even just take the last two goalies and you stream matchups with backups that play 2 games a week, or you find a good value late in the draft. Like usually Darcy Kemper's been my guy. I mean, now he's on
literally the second goalie off the board now, Drew.
No goalie guy.
Second goalie off the board, he's your guy for no goalie.
Brody, he just got to Colorado. When he was in Arizona, he was my guy.
Yeah.
Okay,
he went pretty high up last year.
Like Nedeljkovic last year.
Here we go, look back.
Nedeljkovic last year in Carolina.
Okay.
Guys like that. Okay.
No, I'm giving you a hard time. I honestly agree, especially just as it's, you know, more and more tandems and you can pick up guys and teams get hot, teams get cold if you've got some good matchups for the week. Like you can pick up a guy throughout the season where I don't think that's the worst play in the world.
There's so much turnover in terms of elite goalies for fantasy. Like think about Cam Talbot, 2016 was like a second round pick the next year in fantasy because he started 74 games and the Oilers had a really good season. Was nowhere near a second round pick.
Yeah.
Right? It's like kind of like defenses in fantasy football. You think you've got the best one, but every year the best one changes. And that's the same thing with goalies in fantasy hockey.
I feel like a lot of teams are going by committee like these days. And like you can get a lot of good value on the waiver wire. So like I do agree with Drew. I'll probably go mostly like zero goalie strategy and get someone late. But either from that, like the first round, I don't see anything that really stands out for me. Obviously, Makar is going to be a high draft pick this year, higher than what he usually was
I assumed
drafted.
he'd be the first D off the board. I know you're both higher on Pasternak, where you have him around 4 or 5, and he's 9-10, but everything looks solid to me. Ovechkin still, I guess, it depends on your league, depending on what's counting. Maybe a little surprising to me to see him end of first round here, but
I think it's important to mention that this is a Yahoo categories mock draft. So goals and assists a little less valuable.
Yeah, so power play points, shots, hits, he's still adding that.
Block shots, hits, yeah, all that stuff is a little bit more important here.
All right.
So Ovechkin gets a lot of those.
So let's move on to the second round here. This is where things get interesting. One thing that stood out to me is Robin Leonard is obviously people think that he's going to have a positive fantasy impact with Marc-Andre Fleury leaving. They think that he's going to get, obviously, I guess, more games compared to that committee style. I do agree. Obviously, he's going to be the main guy. But, I mean, in the second round, I think that's pretty crazy.
I don't like Leonard there. Well, I mean, right after Drew's boy, Darcy Kemper, his value, the second goalie off the board.
You know what I was saying.
So Vegas it's because they had Leonard and Fleury, but they were one of the first teams to kind of be doing this back and forth and going into the playoffs, being comfortable to play both. So I think, you know, if Vegas has a competent number 2, I don't see Leonard having that same like game share as Vasilevsky as an example, or a Hellebuck, you know what I mean? Where I do think I agree with that. Leaf fan, so I'm going to be biased on Marner. I guess that's the one surprise where I thought he'd squeak into the first round, just with still playing with Matthews. You know, fuck whatever they do in the playoffs for regular season.
Yeah, playoffs doesn't impact fantasy hockey.
Just so valuable, and I think there is such a good floor there with still a top 5 ceiling if everything aligns. So that was surprising to me. I'm not as high on Florida, so Barkov, Huberdeau, mid-second round. I think that's a little early for me.
Whoa. I think Barkov is like a 1-2 turn pick this year.
I do love Barkov.
I'm both love Florida.
Yeah,
but.
Drew and I are on the Florida
I think there's a notable name here missing from this second round, and it's John Carlson. Why is he not a second-round pick in this draft?
Well, he's one after.
He is one after.
He
is the next.
But I think he's a high second-round pick.
So would you have him as your second defenseman then, I guess, like before Hedman?
I think I have him as my first defenseman.
Wow.
Hot take.
Yeah, hot take, Drew.
For McCarr.
What do you guys think of Zibby at the end of the second? I don't trust him. I wouldn't go with him. I wouldn't draft him, but I'm interested to see what you guys think.
He's, hot and cold.
I know.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Unreal. I think he was going around this last year and then streaky season. I'm higher on the Rangers going into this year than most, I think. So I don't hate it there, but still surprising, like you said, with Carlson after, even Adam Fox, Pacioretty, Svechnikov, all the guys coming up. You can make a case for all of them over Zibanejad, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the third round. The big thing I noticed here is the talking point of 2021 fantasy hockey is Kirill Kaprizov. In the third round, someone tweeted the other day and said that they were drafting him in the first round. They say that the upside is there. I see not a high floor with him. I had him on my team last year. Someone in my my university house was huge on him, so shout out to Jacob Savage. But Kirill Kaprizov in the third round, I don't trust the pick.
No, he's the only Minnesota guy.
That's what I was going to say.
Even remotely up there, right? Where who's he going to pair with?
Well,
and if you are that high on Kaprizov, I think there's guys later that you have to be higher on then just as a result, right? Like if you actually think he's second, third.
For Kaprizov to be a first-round pick in a fantasy draft, he needs to just do it all himself. Because when do you think the next Minnesota player is going in this draft? Maybe the 9th round, 10th round, right? It's not a good offense, right? There's no one there to accelerate his potential to being a 100-point player or a 90-point player, right? It's Joel Eriksson. Maybe Marco Rossi has a breakout rookie season, but there's no one there supporting him to a 90 or 100-point season.
Yeah. Other than that, here I think Max Pacioretty is still an underrated player. His ADP has shown it right now that he's getting drafted later than even what he was drafted in this draft. But other than that, everything looks good to me.
I don't really like this third round, to be honest. I like a lot of guys in the fourth round more.
I was going to say the same thing with Landeskog. I feel it's a little high. Stamkos is just so risky every year. Yeah. Like, is he going to stay healthy? Is he not? Bergeron, I guess if you're high on Pasternak, maybe that makes sense, but I don't know. Let's keep going.
Okay. So let's go. Let's actually go 3 rounds here. Let's go the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. So let's look at all those. So one thing that looks Frederik Andersen on Carolina now. Do we think that helps his stock or hurts his stock?
I mean, they also got Antti Ranta.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to be splitting games. If you're taking a goalie this high, you want a goalie that's going to start 60-plus games on a team that's going to win more than 40 games. You want a guy that has potential to win 40 games on his own for the team, right? The team is probably win 50 games, backup wins 10, right? He's not going to start enough games to have enough volume at goalie to justify this ADP.
Okay.
That's what I think.
I agree.
Tyson Barrie getting drafted in the 5th. Obviously had a bounce back here with Edmonton. He's back in Edmonton, should see PP1 time. Do we think this is too high for him?
No.
And another guy.
He's going before Yossi.
I don't think he... Look at what he did last year. I think he was first in points, right?
Yeah.
I think Mark Stone in the 4th round is a bit low. I think he should go in the 3rd round.
He's not going before Yossi.
No, not? Oh, fuck. Did I mess that up?
Good call, Jer.
Yeah.
That's my bad.
A
I
plus
thought
by Jer on
that was
one.
crazy.
Good
I thought that was crazy.
Also, Elias Pettersson, there's so much potential there to be an extreme value in the 4th round.
That was who I was going to highlight too. I think if he has a bit of a bounce back year, which he obviously can, some things didn't go Vancouver's way last year. Obviously, the COVID killed them at one point in the year. So him, Besser, Quinn Hughes looks high, but I mean, if they perform, Canucks could be a team that all of those are good value potentially.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go last 3 rounds here. 7, 8, 9. I believe so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7, 8, 9.
There's 10
There's
rounds.
10, but the 10th round will not be shown on the screen.
Counting was
probably.
never your strong suit, Jay.
No.
For sure.
No, it is not. Is there anything you see here that surprises you? Spencer Knight. We're talking about goalies a lot here, but Spencer Knight has been a huge talking point of what is going to happen with Florida. Like, is he going to play? Like they're paying.
They have a $10 million man
Behind the
in
net.
Sergei Bobrovsky.
Didn't they show that last year that they didn't care if they played him or not? Really?
Yeah.
No,
They're still
they're
not
not
gonna
gonna
I think
allegiance.
at best they're splitting.
Like they
right?
give Bob a shot every year, but if he doesn't have it, you just saw they're not going to stick with him and force it, right?
How many years does that guy have left on his contract? It's got to be like Ave.
It's
We'll have
longer
Ave
than it
search
should
that
be,
up.
Yeah.
Other than that,
I've highlighted some of the goalies here. Cam Talbot and Kaapo Kähkönen going 2 picks apart on the same team. Like, you got to pick one, right? And if you think one guy's going to start all year, he's going to go high. So is the entire fantasy hockey community at this point split on who's their number one goaltender? And if that's the case, they both should be way lower than a 6th round ADP. Minnesota's not going to win that many games, and if they're going to have a 50-50
Yeah.
split, it doesn't make any sense.
So they're not appealing to me. I get it just from the sense that if you look at Minnesota, like they still have that, traditionally seen as a defensive team where they keep the goals down. So, even if they're both splitting, the stats should be there when they're playing. And if they can, squeeze into a playoff spot, there can be value. I agree, though. There's not as much upside there on them. To me, that stuck out.
5 years left, Jeff.
5 years.
Yeah.
That's such a bad contract.
$50 million. That's a
Holy
lot. That's a
crap.
lot of money.
Yeah.
Eichel stood out. Obviously, it just
Yeah,
what's
Tyler
going to
Seguin.
happen.
That's what I was going to ask next. Is Jack Eichel, Tyler Seguin, obviously 2 guys who were injured.
Tyler Seguin.
Seguin. Is it not Seguin?
I think
Tyler
most
Seguin.
English-speaking people call him Seguin, but
It's 'cause
if you're
I'm French.
French, it's probably how you say his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably
And
is.
he's definitely not French at all.
No, he's from Brampton.
Yeah. It's not French. Fuck. Do we trust picking these guys? Definitely with some upside here.
Well, every center in that round, if you're looking, it's Backstrom, Wheeler, Seguin, Jack Eichel, Matt Barzal. Like, if things work out, all 5 of those can, just outperform going there, obviously. All of them can be top 40, 50 players. Like, no one would bat an eye at that at the end of the year. Eichel's obviously the most, there's the most intrigue around him, like what's going to happen with him.
Yeah.
I think to win a league, like if you are in a 12-man league, and I guess see how the next month or 2 plays out, but if you can get Eichel and things work out your way, he comes back, he plays, that's a steal.
Yeah. No, I agree.
We're looking at the 7th round there. The other thing that stood out to me in this group is Darnell Nurse
Yeah, I
just
was just
seems
gonna say
way
that.
too low to me. Like, again, same idea with Tyson Barrie. Whatever you think about Edmonton, they do have some offense there, and Darnell Nurse was, viable last year, where it just seems so low to me.
No.
Like, I would have thought he'd be kind of 2 or 3 rounds ahead with the McAvoys and
Another
the
thing
Seth
is,
Jones.
this is a categories league, and Darnell Nurse is a categories monster.
Yeah.
So he should be like in the 3rd round.
No, I agree with both you on Darnell Nurse. I think that by the end, before the season,
Yeah,
he's
like,
going to be up there.
That's the
but
thing. There's been
it
a
is
few
something to
drafts,
see.
and this is early.
Yeah.
There'll be some movement, but that was surprising to me on first take.
Again, the goalies are really surprising to me. Like, there's multiple backups in the 8th, 7th, and 8th rounds here. Like Peter Mrazek on the Leafs, Kevin Lankinen on the Blackhawks. Like, how many games are you thinking these guys are going to start? If you're taking him, like if you're taking Kevin Lankinen over Nylander, Nurse, Heiskanen, Drew Doughty, like I don't understand.
No, I agree with that, Drew. I think that there's obviously way too many goalies that potentially couldn't see much playing time. But overall, looks good. Exciting stuff coming for the fantasy hockey season. First mock draft
Yeah.
went well. Excited.
As the preseason goes on, these ADPs will change a lot as people start mocking more.
So
and
make
more.
sure you check out our blog. We have top 200 player rankings overall. We have position rankings, forward defense rankings. All the links are in the description. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you buy some Manscaped for yourself. Treat yourself. Code BOX, free shipping, and 20% off. See you next time.